It's Friday, November 29th. You got Goose and you're entering into the core, brought to you by ZelCrux Plus, the one cryptocurrency wallet for all your custody and trading needs. For more info on ZelCrux Plus, check out Zel.network. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. It is season 2 of the core, and we are finally kicking things off with this major update video / audio podcast. We're going to put this out on all the different podcasting platforms. So if you're used to listening to us on Spotify or Anchor.fm, you can definitely tune in there, but also over here on the Zel Labs YouTube channel. So do hit that subscribe button, give us the thumbs up, and help us get to our subscriber goal of 1,000 subs. This way we'll be able to monetize the videos, which means that we'll have more suggestion on behalf of YouTube, as well as recommendations. So we want people who are in the crypto space to see these videos and gain access to the inside scoop, what's going on with the Zel ecosystem. So boy, do we have a jam-packed episode for you, and as we should, right? It's been several months and there's a lot to cover. So let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. As you can see, we've got a little bit of a new presentation here. I've got some new scenes I'd like to show you, and I'd like to start first off by highlighting the ZelNode network. Now, there's a lot of reason to highlight this right now because really we have gone through the month of September, October, and most of November now. And if you recall, September was dubbed the month of flux. Well, I think we could pretty much say that September, October, and November have been the months of flux. And a lot of that has to do with all of the work that's being done on the ZelFlux OS. Now, we're going to get into that, but before I do so, I just want to welcome all the newcomers. So if you're new to the Zel family, welcome aboard. It's so great to have you here, and I hope that you find the way that we share information using this type of medium helpful, because we find that being as open and transparent as possible has always been a very positive thing for us, and we hope that you enjoy it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the ZelNodes and what that is, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. And then we'll move into what we're doing with those nodes, right? So as you can see on the screen right here, I have the ZelNode dashboard open. You can get here by visiting dashboard.zel.network. This has all of the stats about our network. And this is different than the blockchain network. That's a completely different component, or I should say different layer of the Zel ecosystem, okay? So it is probably the most important layer because it's fundamentally the blockchain on top of which everything else has been built. And that includes the Zel node network. And what we have here are a combination of proof-of-work miners who are verifying transactions and writing blocks to the blockchain. And we also have the Zel node network, which is a series of different tiers of nodes, computers or servers that are contributing CPU, processing power, RAM, and different bandwidth and storage. Okay, so there's really 4 different components there, right? CPU for processing power, RAM to store all the computations in memory for easy access, and then SSD, fast storage capacity. And lastly, of course, bandwidth, which is you need bandwidth for the internet. We got to have enough throughput there in order to facilitate what it is that we hope people will be doing with the ZelNode network. So how does this really look? Well, I mean, first of all, just to give you a snapshot, we've got the map here, which shows a good number of nodes in North America. Probably the majority of nodes right now hanging out somewhere in Germany. There's about 113 nodes right there. You can also zoom in on this map to get a little bigger picture. Got one sitting over here in Russia. We got one over here in China. There's 34 nodes right here in China. Got a couple in Japan. So this is really cool. Hong Kong, 53 nodes hanging out in Hong Kong. So very interesting spread. Now, obviously, we need to get some down here in South America, some in Africa, a few more over here in Australia. But what's the whole point of this, right? You're probably wondering, like, why do we even have this? What does this do? Is it just some kind of money-making scheme? I mean, well, part of it does have to do with the blockchain, right? So the blockchain itself remembers all of the transactions that take place on the Zel network. And then on top of that has been built the node layer, which provides access to all of this computational power. And the whole goal of this, really, in addition to providing added security and verification to those transactions on the blockchain, there is like a whole new level of what you could expect to actually do with this computational power. So, there's a lot of masternode coins out there, a lot of these type of networks that make use of masternodes, but all they're really doing with those masternodes is speeding up the transactions and adding a little bit of obfuscation of the transaction amounts so that there's more anonymity and privacy. But that's probably about as far as many of these node coins have gone. But Zel, on the other hand, is just about ready to launch the Flux OS. So a little bit more on these nodes, just so that you can get a visual here, okay? There are 3 different types of nodes or servers which are providing this computational power. There's a basic node, there's a super node, and a BAMF node. Now, there's a little tongue-in-cheek here with the BAMF, obviously, but a lot of us have been joking that it actually stands for broadly available multifunction node. Okay, so for all those who are like, oh yeah, you guys are just like being, juvenile about this. No, the idea here is that this is the one that has the majority of the processing power and storage space and RAM. So it is the one that's going to have, and look, 6 terabytes of bandwidth. So broadly available, is really there in terms of, how much throughput you would have with transactions and accessing from outside. So here's the deal. All of these nodes are going to work together, and they're going to provide massive, massive amounts of computational power to developers who want to create, not operating systems, but they want to create applications to run on this operating system. So I'm going to give you a little bit more here from this Medium post that was posted in October. And if it's a little bit of review, bear with me, okay? But again, I want to address this to a lot of the people who are new to the Zel ecosystem, and then also provide a little bit of a refresher to some of those people who may have already read this. I'll also leave links down in the description, so please check those out and do your own research. Read these things for yourself so that you can get yourself totally up to speed. There are currently over 1,000 Zel nodes in operation, and ZelFlux is an open source MEVN stack built from scratch by the Zel team. Now, this is what's very important about the Zel network, is the different types of programming languages and the way they interact with one another, stacking on top of one another. I was just talking to somebody who completely understood this. Somebody who was a programmer. I don't understand it fully, because I'm not a programmer. But when I was talking to another programmer and I said, oh yeah, it's an MEVN stack, and even they questioned, they were like, well, what do you mean by MEVN? Okay, so that is actually addressed down here in the article. So let's go. Let me find the spot here just to kind of give you a heads up for what it is. There's an actual 4-part system here. And this is what developers would use to build their software to run on this network. Okay, first of all, they're using MongoDB, which is a very popular databasing program. You may have heard of MySQL or MariaDB. So MongoDB is right up there with those types of databases to just keep track of information, basically. It could be user account access, it could be logins, it could be, I don't know, whatever stats are needed to be kept for a particular application to function properly, okay? Imagine an application that's running on the Zel network that keeps track of NFL stats, right? Maybe somebody will create some kind of fantasy football app, right? That could be kind of cool, right? So you would use this database basically to store all the stats. The next part here is Express, which is web framework designed in JavaScript. And then there's Vue, which is framework for JavaScript applications. Okay, so we have a framework that's for the web. And then on top of that is this Vue, which is for the application itself. So how you would code perhaps the UI and things like this. And then after that is Node, which is a cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment. And this Node is actually something that allows, I think, a lot of the apps to interact with blockchains and different nodes that blockchains use. So in our case, it's going to be the Zel Nodes, right? So we've got some very interesting information here for any developers who are interested in possibly creating an app. Guys, I'll tell you right now what I would love to see. And I mean, everybody kind of jokes, like, yeah, Goose, it's not about gaming, man. Like, come on. Seriously, I would love it. Somebody has got to create me a version of Atari's Asteroids that's multiplayer. I want to see several different ships on the same screen shooting asteroids together. All right, that would be so cool. It would showcase the ability of the network and what you could do with it. I bet it could be done very easily. I did speak to another. He's a gamer, but like, he doesn't do like game coding, but he's like, yeah, you could probably do that with this setup. And I'm like, I bet you can. So somebody make that happen. Now, that being said, just to kind of give a little bit more of a background on ZelFlux, because some people will question this, right? The term operating system, right? Because usually when you think operating system, you're thinking about either Linux or Windows or Mac OS or iOS or Android. These are all operating systems that actually work with the bare metal. So the term is actually used loosely here. ZelFlux, ZelFlux. It's like, look at my muscles, ZelFlux. ZelFlux is not a replacement for a Linux distribution or other operating systems, okay? So what it is, it's a secondary operating system working one layer above Linux that manages all the system resources, the network traffic, and the application services. So it functions similar to an OS, because basically what's happened here is the nodes all, for the most part, are running on Ubuntu servers, and that's largely because of what you can rent through a VPS. Now, you could choose to use different types of OSs, I suppose. I'd be curious to see if anybody's running it. I think some people are running it on Debian, and Ubuntu is based on Debian. But sometimes Debian is so super vanilla, it doesn't have all the library files that you would need, and that can be kind of complicated. But if you're building from source and all this, so it gets kind of, I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, But the reality is that it's more or less meant to run on an Ubuntu server, and Ubuntu server is very, very reliable. Let's put it that way. It's a reliable option. Running this means, longevity, good uptime, less frequent failures and things like this. So that's really all we're talking about here, is the ZelFlux interacting with that particular operating system to provide access to the CPU, the RAM, and the SSD storage for the developers and their apps, okay? So that's basically ZelFlux in a nutshell, all right? ZelFlux, it says right here, acts as the master coordinator for launching these applications, sidechains, and asset layers. It handles the deployment of the apps, manages the resources of each Zel node to balance usage, and communicates between Zel nodes to provide real-time computing metrics. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? The communication between the nodes. Now, basically, as far as I understand it, what's going to happen is developers will be able to rent a series of nodes, let's say, all right? They'll say, I'd like to have nodes in North America, for instance. And they'll be able to use Zel. So here comes your use case for all those people who are curious, like, what is Zel going to be used for, right? Well, here it is, all right? You're going to use Zel to rent that space. Access to those nodes to run your apps. Okay, so developers, this is mainly focused on developers. And what do they stand to gain? Well, you think about it. If they create an app, they create a killer app, right, that everybody wants to use, like this Asteroids, man. I'm telling you, Asteroids, it's going to be great. It'll be just like 1982 all over again, right? This is what we need, some nostalgia nerddom, in ZelFlux. So somebody's going to come in and create that killer app that everybody just is dying to use, right? And it's going to cost Zel to get those apps. So not only do the developers use Zel to block off some Zel nodes in a particular region where they want to provide the service for that region, and then people who want to use the app will use some Zel to purchase it, all right? So that's basically the idea here. So we're going to get a double whammy use case scenario for the Zel coin itself, okay? And then who knows from there? I mean, it really could just go anywhere. I mean, you could have developers, just like they do with Android, right? They could create apps that are free or have a paywall. So if you want an app to use, I don't know, Stargazer app for your cell phone, okay, that's great. But if you want to get rid of ads, right, then you just buy the app for $3. In our case, it would be $3 worth of Zel, whatever that comes to, 1,000 Zel. And you just spend that, and now you own that app. And you'll be able to use it through Zelcore. Zelcore will be like the app store and your wallet and your trading destination, right? It'll do everything. It interfaces with the node network and allows you to, it's basically like a browser for blockchain, right? This is what Daniel likes to put forth all the time. He's the strategy officer, right? So we're going to get Daniel on the core within the next week, and he's going to give us a little bit more insight on ZelFlux. But basically, Zelcore is going to be the browser for blockchain. It's going to allow us to offer applications that run on different networks, but most especially the Zel node network. And you can use these apps for whatever you want. I mean, whatever the developers are interested in. And think about it this way too, it's a decentralized network. That's probably the most important part of this whole thing, because there's playing the politics with Apple Store and playing the politics with Google. It's becoming a more and more difficult, all right? And if you are following anybody on YouTube who has been complaining at all about the new COPPA thing and all of the other regulations and the difficulties that people are experiencing with censorship and all this kind of stuff, like more and more is there a need for decentralization so that we have freedom to voice our opinions and share our ideas and all of that without it being censored or filtered or focused or demonetized or whatever else is becoming more and more of a challenge in the world of media, right? So imagine decentralized network, totally open so that you can create whatever app you want. And I mean, obviously within reason, but there you go. Very cool stuff happening with ZelFlux. Now, any other questions about this? Obviously, leave us a comment down below. What do you think about ZelFlux? Are you excited about what we're going to be able to do with this network? What kind of developers do you think are going to find this interesting? Who do you think is going to create asteroids for ZelFlux? Tell me, I got to know. I need to play some asteroids. All right, moving along here, I want to show you a little bit about our Zel Labs pool. In case you haven't noticed, the community pool has shifted gears. And we are no longer being hosted by Pickaxe. So I do want to give a shout out to Tarball and Jeffka for all of the work that they did on the original community pool. I worked with them hand in hand to make sure that we had something put together that was good for the Zel network, because we wanted an option to help spread the hash. And it was a success. But things are changing, right? We've decided to grow that pool. And so we talked to the guys from FOMO Miners, and they started hooking us up with this really nice user interface. We've got all kinds of really good doodads that you can use. And this is probably one of the nicest pool setups that you'll find for like any coin, really, especially an Equihash coin. So here we are on the Zel community pool. And here is our hash rate graph along with our network difficulty and everything. And it's just running super smooth. These guys have done a fantastic job with this, and we're so stoked that they're doing it. Now, if you want to check out this pool, if you want to mine Zel Cash, go to zellabs.net. There's 2 L's in there, zellabs.net. All right, I'll take you back over here to the main page. And let me click on the pools icon here, and that's going to show you the different coins that we're working with, because this is the next level, okay? This is where we're taking this pool. It's not just Zel anymore, all right? We've got Zel. Now we've got Ravencoin on here, Raptorium, Genesis X, and Bitcoin Z. So we have lots of really good coins, and we're going to continue to add these coins as part of a partnership with the different projects that are working with Zel Labs. And in case you're just curious about what Zel Labs all about, it's an incubation arm. And what we're doing is we're lending our expertise and our background with crypto to up and coming coins that want exposure and want to be part of the ZelCrux wallet and the ecosystem. So we're putting it all together under one house, basically, and calling that Zel Labs. Now, there's a lot of really cool stuff that some of these other coins have to offer us too, right? Like, we have a really good relationship with the lead developer of Ravencoin, who helps us out. And Ravencoin is part of our ecosystem in the sense that, yeah, Ravencoin is really cool project with assets. We've got the assets added into ZelCrux. So if you are a holder of different Raven assets, you can access those assets through the ZelCrux wallet. So that's something that we needed a deeper relationship with, especially Blonde Frogs over from Ravencoin. So he works with us, we work with them, so this is a great coin for Zel Labs. Same thing would go here with Raptorium. They are a coin. Actually, there's the Big Piggy, who is one of the lead developers over there, is kind of a crypto OG. He's been around for years in the space. So they're working on, it's basically a fork of Ravencoin, but they're doing some additional asset layer work in order to create more or less a history of products. So think about like, I don't know, kind of like VeChain in the sense that you've got some kind of supply chain history that's there. Well, people can create assets and use those assets. So, I mean, if you were a business owner and you wanted to track certain assets or products, you could set up a different asset, for each product that you want to track and give it its own history, and that will go on the blockchain. So it'll be something that doesn't change because the blockchain is immutable, and it'll give you really good tracking of that kind of stuff. Bitcoin Z, you can look into that. Genesis X here is actually kind of neat because the Genesis network is really trying to focus on a point of sale system for crypto. I know there's been a few of them out there and they're kind of clunky, and I don't really know where Genesis stands right now, and there's a very small team. But when we put all of our heads together, because eventually we do want to be able to make it so that Zel could be easily accepted no matter where you go, right? Kind of like you can with Bitcoin right now. You scan the QR and you can very easily transact with it. But we would have the added bonus of speed in terms of the fact that we have the node network, right? So little things to consider there, and working with Genesis would really help us in that regard. So do check out the Zel Labs pool, and if you're interested in mining any of these coins here, you can visit the pool and then click the Getting Started tab, give you all the stats that you need to get things going. Next, I do want to talk a little bit about this BitForex listing. Now, this happened in mid-October, so I know it's a little over a month ago, but this is big news, guys. This is a huge, huge exchange. So BitForex community, really big in China, and we're so excited that people are getting into Zel, not just in the States or in Europe, but also as you go further east. So welcome. So glad to have you with us. And guys, get on there and check it out, okay? Because it's live. It's one of the top 10 crypto exchanges out there. Big news, all right? And check this out. Their engine boasts a max speed of 1.6 million orders per second, with order books for over 300 trading pairs. Massive stuff, okay? So for all you who are excited about what exchange is Zel getting on, well, I don't know what more you need here. This is pretty awesome, okay? Now, speaking of awesome, right, we got to talk about this because this is more recent, and I love this. Oh, man, this kind of stuff just gets me so excited. This is called CruxPay. And if you've been following Zel, you probably have already heard of it. Maybe you've already set it up. I'm not sure. But that being said, CruxPay, okay? CruxPay is a way of... It's like an email address for crypto, all right? If you have a ZelCrux account, right, on your computer, on your desktop, and let's say I don't know. It doesn't matter what your username and password. It doesn't even matter, okay? It's just your ZelCore account. So let's say you have that, and then you want to make an easy way for people to send you crypto, and pretty much any crypto, right? Like, let's suppose you want to transact in some obscure coin that we have on the Ethereum chain, and you're like, yeah, I want to get this token from somebody. How can they send it to you? Well, you could go into the wallet and search around for your address and copy that and paste that and send it to them in an email. It's kind of annoying. Or you can create your own CruxPay account in ZelCore. All right, I got to show you this because it's just too fun. All right, let me pull this up, and we'll just go ahead and look at it. All right, so this is my ZelCore wallet. And if I go over here to the apps section, there's a little button here for CruxPay. So you go to CruxPay, all right? And I've already set mine up, okay? But this is really simple. You basically give it a name, okay? And so, I mean, you know what I had to choose, right? I put my Crux ID as Goose, and it automatically assigns you this little subdomain. So it's goose at zel.crux. And what this does is it takes, I don't know, it takes like 3 or 4 hours for it to propagate, because basically what it does is it creates links to all of the crypto addresses in your ZelCore wallet. And then if anybody loads up ZelCore and goes to send crypto, it doesn't matter which crypto it is, it could be anything, right, to goose at zel.crux, then I'll get it. So like, for instance, if I go to portfolio, let's say I want to send somebody some Zel. All right, I go to send. Then you got to put your PIN in because, you know, got to be secure. Do this. All right, look, see right here, destination address or Crux ID, right? So pop this in, type it in, goose at zel.crux, right? And then I can send one Zel that way and hit send, right? And basically what will end up happening is I'll send myself some Crux. But see, did you see what it did? It went really fast, but it automatically popped in my Zel address. All right, so cool. So it gives me a little transaction verification here. You can look at this in the Explorer if you want. I'll close that down. So right here it says it's sending one Zel. Here's not yet confirmed, okay, but I think I set it to wallet 3 addresses. Yeah, see how that's red? I think that's because we're waiting for a transaction to come in. Yep, see right here? One Zel. It's already on the blockchain, guys. That's too cool. So, hey, if you want to send me a little crypto for doing this, you got my address, right? It's that simple. Can you imagine how cool that's going to be for other people? All right, now this is created by the guys who are responsible for CoinSwitch, which I've already done an interview in the previous season with Sharon, who is one of the lead developers, and they decided to get into a real simple way to do hot swapping, or what they're calling, basically, I can't call it atomic swap, but it's a quick exchange that takes place, and they use some major exchanges to make it happen. But the best part of it is it's totally anonymous, right? Now, with CruxPay, your addresses, at least all those addresses that are in ZelCore, will be made public, like publicly viewable via the blockchain according to whatever name you type in. So in my case, Goose, all of my transparent addresses are published in such a way that they could be searched and found, you know. So if you're really trying to be, I don't know, like super private about stuff, I mean, this is not necessarily a way to be super private, right? This is just a matter of convenience. But guys, it is massive. Massive convenience. Now, instead of sending crypto to some cumbersome address, which you got to dig around for and all this, if all I got to say, yep, send it to goose at zel.crux. That's simple. So check it out, guys. Set it up. It's free to do. It don't cost you anything. It's like, this is a no-brainer. Just go use it. Get the ZelCore wallet and go ahead and set up your new Crux account. You will not be what's the word? I don't know. I just guarantee that you're going to love it. All right, moving along. The transparency report came out for quarters 2 and 3. So that includes April to September. All right, so because we're in quarter 4 right now. But if you want to learn more about what's going on here, well, we got a really nice donation that helped us to do some very serious development. So I think it's important that we post all of that. But you can see here, advisor payments came in here. We've got our community pool payments and core team payouts, general operations. Of course, that's the biggest nut right there, is general operations, because that goes to pay for a lot of the servers that are still running the Zel core backend. So definitely something that takes up a huge chunk of money. And then, of course, you can see we are, well, about just shy of 750,000 Zel that was spent in those 6 months. So there you go. We're about, I mean, if we keep up with the same rate, obviously it's going to be about 1.5 million Zel. But again, that is kind of it's a hard number to nail down, because do take into consideration that the value of Zel fluctuates, right? Because obviously right now Zel is experiencing a little bit of a low, and of course we know what that means, right? It is prime time buying season for Zel. I mean, guys, 2 years ago at this time, crypto was through the roof, right? You will not see prices this low again, right? I don't think that by the time we get to Bitcoin's halvening and some of the other really cool stuff that's going on in the crypto space within the next couple of years, this is the perfect time to get involved. So definitely consider something like that. Something I do want to mention, and this is really important when it comes to Zel. Why Zel, right? A lot of people may ask that about any coin out there. Why? Why would I get involved with this? What's the point, right? What's so great about Zel? Okay, well, if the node network and the possibility of running apps and, you know, buying apps and all the cool use case stuff that you can have baked in to Zel Core, if that doesn't, you know, tickle your fancy, well, what about the convenience factor of CruxPay? I mean, if that don't tickle your fancy, I don't know what you're doing here. But let's take it another step further. Zel has privacy tech built in. They use ZK Snark's privacy tech from Zcash, because Zel is a fork of Zcash, also borrowing some features from Horizon, like the messaging and stuff like this. But for the most part, Zel is a transparent / private cryptocurrency. Now, why is that important as we move forward into 2020? Well, think about it. Privacy is probably like the last bastion of true freedom, okay? If you don't have privacy, then how can you say you have freedom, right? Because if everybody knows everything about you, especially those big old corporations that are collecting all our data because we just love using their free services, then what does that mean about you? You hear that? See, the sirens are going. Can you hear the sirens? I'm going to leave it. I'm not editing this out. But like, there's something to this stuff, right? So privacy is very important. Now, I'm not saying that you need to get into privacy because you're trying to do something shady, okay? Look, we know shady stuff happens with cash dollars, right? Euros, US dollars, whatever the fiat, don't matter. There's some shady stuff going on with those dollar bills. So that doesn't mean I condone it, right? Most people who use cash, they pay their taxes, they do what they're supposed to do, and that's it, right? And I think the big question here is really more or less a matter of, am I free to do what I want with my own money? Because if I am, and I want to enter into a private transaction with someone, you know, private detective, for instance, right? I mean, I could go pay a private detective cash money and nobody would know that that transaction took place besides me and that private eye, right? That would make a lot of sense. The same thing is possible with Zel Cash in a digital way. You could pay your private eye in a transparent way on the blockchain via your transparent Zel core address, right? Or if you want more privacy and anonymity, what you can do is pay the same private eye using a private address that only you know and only he knows. And then that transaction will be completely concealed on the web. All right. Now, why am I even bringing this up? Well, in case you've been following along, there are several different types of privacy coins out there. And among them is not just Zcash and its forks like Horizon and Zel, but also Monero, which is probably one of the #1 privacy coins out there, but also Mimblewimble type privacy coins. And that would include Beam and, oh shoot, what's the other one called? Grin coin, okay? So Grin and Beam and a handful of others are using this Mimblewimble type privacy technology, okay? And I'm not going to get too far into the details of exactly how this stuff works, but I'm just going to follow along with this article here a little bit, okay? In the last 2 years, Mimblewimble has grown in popularity as an up-and-coming lightweight privacy protocol. Mimblewimble was invented in 2016 by a pseudonymous hacker known as Tom Elvis Jedusor, who dropped a text description of the protocol into an IRC chat and then disappeared. Another Satoshi Nakamoto, huh? Kind of like, here's a little thing for you, and poof, I'm gone. But since then, Mimblewimble was most famously implemented in the fair-launched privacy coin. And guys, those quotations, that's pretty good. I should probably give props to who wrote the article here, Ivan Bogatti. And that's, where are we? This is just a Medium post. Okay. So Ivan, yes, thank you for the quotes on fair launched, because venture capital-backed projects, venture capitals, mind you, who had tons and tons of mining equipment already set up to run on the Grin network. Yeah, fair launch. Thanks, guys. But anyway, between Grin's Mimblewimble usage and Beam, it's being considered also for integration into Litecoin, although that was rumored probably, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, it seems at this point. So I'm not too concerned about what's going on there with Litecoin. In fact, I don't even know really what the heck is happening with Litecoin. It kind of seems like maybe they want to look at privacy, but I think they're still in that sort of like, what do we want to do phase, rather than like, let's just go with Mimblewimble. And maybe not after this particular article. Check this out. Several researchers have hypothesized a possible privacy weakness in Mimblewimble 1234. And this guy wants to demonstrate the precise way to perform an attack, prove its viability on a live network, and measure its efficacy. In live testing on Grin, he was able to unmask the flow of transactions with a 96% success rate. So Mimblewimble basically is obfuscating transactions, hiding them on the blockchain in such a way that you're not supposed to be able to unravel whatever it does to hide the information. So what information does it hide? It hides your address, the amount, and where it's going, the address that it's going to, and the IPs, right? So nobody can be tracked via this, Mimblewimble. Well, maybe not, right? With a 96% success rate, that means he can unravel, figure out exactly who's sending what, when, and where, and how much. So this is a bit of an issue with Mimblewimble's privacy. So he's saying it's clear this should not be relied upon for robust privacy. So if you want to just obfuscate a few transactions here or there, I mean, you can use this. Although, why go through all that effort when you can just hop on the Dash network and use their masternode instant obfuscation process or whatever? It's built into the masternodes. It's just, I don't know. It just seems to me like too much effort now. We've got a lot of different information here. I'll leave a link down in the description. You can check it out. But I just kind of want to get to, what's the takeaway here, okay? All this stuff aside, Mimblewimble still has a unique and valuable properties. It allows cut-through aggregation, which is an effective compaction technique for full nodes, and efficiently hides transaction amounts. So yeah, it will hide the transactions, but if it's the kind of thing you really want to be off-grid with, it's not the best solution. All right, it says right here, it's clear that Mimblewimble on its own is not strong enough to confer robust privacy. Okay, so that being said, let's go on over here to Zero Knowledge, ZK Snarks, right? Zero Knowledge Proofs. And here's a little picture of Socrates drinking the hemlock juice. He says, I know nothing, all right? The little Socratic what do they call that? The Socratic humility, right? Because Socrates, one admission, I know that I just don't know everything, right? So that's exactly what ZK is all about. No knowledge. No knowledge of what's going on, right? So what is a zero knowledge proof? It's a digital protocol that allows for data to be shared between two parties without the use of a password or any other information associated with the transaction. So total obfuscation, right? No address, no IP, no amount, nothing is shown. If you go on the Zel blockchain to look at a Z transaction, you won't see it. It doesn't say anything there. It says there's a transaction there, but there's nothing there. Go on the Explorer yourself and check it out. It's like, okay, I can't see what this is. All right, but it's a protocol through which digital authentication processes can be facilitated without the use of passwords or other sensitive data. So you send something on the blockchain, you don't need a password to send it back and forth, right? You just plug in the number and hit send, and it goes. If you've encrypted your wallet, that's local level encryption, password protection, right? That's local. All right, you're like the password to get into ZelCrux. That's not this, right? Zero knowledge is its own beast. So you send a private transaction on the blockchain, that's just completely obfuscating everything it possibly can. So it's really good. It's probably one of the best. That's why the government uses it. In fact, the government uses it because they wanted a way to basically hack without hacking, if that makes sense. Like they want to, like, you know how like there's the whole thing of plausible deniability. Like it's better what you don't know, right? Because this way you can always claim plausible deniability, right? So it's the same idea in a digital sense, right? They're doing these attacks, quote unquote, trying to hack into different things without using usernames and passwords. Can we just blow by it? So that's been adopted for blockchain use to obfuscate transactions on the blockchain, which is great for privacy. Researchers have used the technology for creating novel digital identification mechanisms that do not require users to reveal any sensitive information related to them. Now, this gets into a whole other realm of privacy. Okay, for instance, you may have seen us talk about Zel Med, right? There is going to be a need, all right? Not even just like this should be an option. No, there is going to be a need for individual persons to store their medical history in a secure way such that they have the control over it, not your insurance provider, not your hospital, not your doctor. You personally need to have control over that. And the way that's going to happen is via something like this type of technology, which allows you the keys to enable someone else to look at it. Okay, so ZK is going to play a major role in a lot of really cool tech in the very near future. So definitely keep an eye on what's happening here. So can zero knowledge proofs be integrated into blockchain platforms? I was just talking about that. Yes, of course, can very easily be used within the context of a blockchain, especially in regard to validating cryptocurrency transactions without disclosing any data related to it, right? Like I said, go on the Explorer, try and find a Z transaction. You won't find anything there. It'll say a transaction is there, but nothing. No amount, no addresses. It's just there. Such as where the transactions originated from, where it went, and how much money was transferred. Totally private, all right? And what advantages do zero knowledge proofs offer? Well, it allows for a transfer of information to take place. Now, that's really what it is, right? If you want to send value, that's one thing, right? But in terms of medical information, your medical history, right? That is yours to determine whether or not you want to send that to someone, right? So that's kind of the idea here. This allows that to take place in a private way, as it should, right? Like if I had a lawyer and I needed to send that lawyer something very important and I didn't want anybody else to intercept that through an email because I used an insecure email account or something like this, well, I mean, imagine that, okay? And here's another idea, right? What's to say that somebody doesn't create on the ZelNodes ZelFlux OS an app that allows you to send things in a secure way using the zero knowledge proofs that's built into the Zel Cash blockchain, right? So think about this. There's so many really cool things that could possibly start happening very, very soon with the Zel ecosystem, all right? This is just the very tip of the iceberg, guys. I'm so excited here. This is such a great first episode. All right, so anyway, More information about that down in the comments. So take a look here. Really good articles. Thanks for all these. And now this one over here is on Cointelegraph, but Shiraz Jagati, thank you for this article. We really appreciate that. And I do want to take a quick look here at what's been happening with the altcoins and Bitcoin, okay? Because everybody knows right now, obviously, the price of Bitcoin has tanked. You know, it's down probably about, what, $2,000 in about a couple of weeks, right? So that's a pretty significant decline in value. But recently, we just saw about 8% gains. So where everybody started to think, well, that's it, it's just going to keep going down and down and down. No, actually, it actually surged a little bit. And we can take a look over here at CoinMarketCap, and you can see how that surge is. We almost got, I don't know, is this another Bart Simpson forming right here? Maybe. But basically hovering around almost $7,500 in Bitcoin price right now. And if we want to take a look at Zel, as you can see here, Zel Cash, ZEL is our ticker. We're just under 4 cents. Now, I know that's a lot lower than our all-time high, but see, the article was indicating how many of the altcoins have actually fared better in this regard. So Bitcoin price tanks, yes, and that does bring down the price of most alts because you still need Bitcoin to buy the alts, right? There are very, very few altcoins that allow you to just go ahead and do a fiat to crypto transaction, right? You're going to have to, in most cases, first buy Bitcoin with your fiat and then take that Bitcoin and trade it for Zel, all right? But in our case, yeah, we're up a little bit. Take a look at the chart here. Just a teeny tiny little boop, but we'll take it. And guys, when we launch the Flux OS, I think that we're going to see a lot of activity. And as that, of course, becomes another way that people can start using Zel, that will probably start to affect the price in a positive way too. I don't like to dwell on this too much because we're still in the very, very early stages of the technology, and we're very much looking forward to continuing our development. And this is really what it's all about, guys, is building the internet of tomorrow. And the Flux OS is really going to give other services like Amazon Web Services or other cloud hosting platforms a run for their crypto, if you know what I mean, right? And that's also something that you can see here in the Flux article here, because this is really the main focus of Flux. Third-party developers will purchase decentralized computing power to suit their application and users' needs at a fraction of the cost of Amazon Web Services and Azure, all right? We are coming for you, Bezos. Watch out, boy. All right, and one last thing I do want to touch upon here is we've got from MyAltcoins.info a brand new review. So I'll leave a link down in the description here, but check it out, guys. A really nice write-up that says everything that you'd want to know about Zel in one page. So if you're looking for more information about Zel, do check it out. And we are so excited to have reviews like this because, you know, they're not happening all the time. The latest one that we had before this was Proof of Review, which we're very excited for. But hey, you know what? You can never have enough publicity. And I do realize that it's been a little while since we've posted one of these videos and podcasted. And I hope that, you know, everybody can appreciate the massive amount of work that's been done in the last few months. And we're going to continue rolling out these podcasts more and more as we start gearing things back up for the next couple of months, especially as we enter into 2020. So do be on the lookout for all that stuff, guys. And listen, I'm really glad that you came. Thanks so much for visiting us. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, give us that thumbs up, and be sure to check us out on all the major social media platforms. We got our Discord server. We also have our Twitter account at Zel_core. You can check us out over on YouTube at Zel Labs. And Oh boy, there's so many different ways, but I'll leave all the rest of the links down in the description below. And that's it for now, guys. I hope you really enjoyed what we've been up to in the last few months. And the next episode, we are going to feature Daniel Keller, who is our Chief Strategy Officer. And like I said earlier, we're going to get some inside scoop on what's been going on with ZelFlux and some of the other offerings from the Zel ecosystem. So do stay tuned for that. And until next time, you've been in the core, powered by Zel Core Plus.